Why is change so hard? Why do we fear it, resist it, immediately think it's for the worst instead of a good thing? The reasons might surprise you, unless you've been listening to the podcast for a while. Understanding and embracing change, whether it was your idea to change or not, helps you handle it better and make the most of it. And that's what my guest and I are talking about today. You're listening to the Positively Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Zawrotny, founder of Positively Productive Systems and a coach certified in time and stress management, helping clients make space for what matters most in their lives. Join me each episode and we'll talk about decluttering, stress management, habits, personalized productivity, gratitude, and so much more. I understand the overwhelm of life because I'm a wife, mom to kids and cats, and a former caregiver. I'm here to help you choose what's right for you so you can do less, live more, and breathe easier. Sound good? Let's get to it. Have you heard the expression, the only constant is change? I feel like there are some days it's more accurate than others. Or, in the case of 2020, some years. My guest and I reflect on change and what it means for us, especially in light of everything we've experienced in 2020. But what we talk about applies to any season of change in your life, whether you initiated it or not. Today, I welcome Nicole Mixdorf to the Positively Living Podcast. Nicole Mixdorf is the Chief Wellness Officer of Balance by Nature and a motivational leader who inspires people to be the absolute best they can be. She spent over a decade working her way up the corporate ladder in a global firm until she experienced the debilitating health consequences of a stressful work environment. After healing her body, she launched Balance by Nature to inspire busy professionals to create more balance in their lives and thrive. Nicole and I have similar stories in that we both experienced burnout and made intentional changes to heal and to help others. We both know change can be good, can be necessary, but if that's so, why doesn't it seem that popular with most people? A big part of this resistance comes from the unplanned kind of change. It's one thing to decide you're going to make changes and you do your best to create new habits, which can still be a challenge. But when change wasn't your idea and wasn't expected, your first response is often fear. Our brains like certainty, and we can perceive change as a threat. The key to shifting our response is to see it instead as an opportunity. This distinction highlights the difference between fixed and growth mindset. In today's conversation, Nicole and I cover the resistance we feel and why, our stress responses and how fear plays into that, and the steps we can take to manage unplanned change and take back our power. Nicole describes a practice that will help you see the opportunity when change is thrust upon you. You'll want to listen for that as it's a key step in turning around your initial resistance. We also discuss how to seek out what works and what's good in what is happening, which lends itself so beautifully to gratitude. We cover a variety of topics: stress, fear, authenticity, and gratitude, to name a few. And there are Positively Living podcast episodes on each of these topics I'd recommend you visit or revisit. For stress, check out episodes 6 and 13, and for gratitude, episode 4. Plus, you'll find references to that sprinkled throughout many episodes. Most recently, episodes 30 and 31 cover taking action through fear and authenticity in life and business. It never ceases to amaze me how these topics keep coming up over and over again. But it makes sense because it's all connected, and my conversation with Nicole highlights that beautifully. If you'd like to explore this topic more and have access to a Q&A directly with Nicole, be sure to join the Positively Living membership community. This membership offers accountability and action-taking support for less than $20 a month and extends the podcast topics in a way that helps you go from learning to living them. Head to positivelyproductive.com/membership to enroll, and I look forward to seeing you there. Welcome, Nicole Mixdorf, to the Positively Living podcast. We're talking today about something you and I encourage as coaches, embracing change. And it feels like an especially timely topic because we're recording this at the end of 2020, but it's truly timeless since change is a constant throughout our lives. Nicole, I would love it if you would tell us a bit about yourself, who you help, and what lights you up.
Oh, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. I'm just delighted to be here and speaking with your group. So thank you again. So a little bit about me. I am a corporate wellness executive. So I have a corporate wellness company called Balance by Nature. And what we do is we go into different businesses, companies of all sizes to find out what's going on with their staff. What's happening with the culture? How are stress levels like amongst their staff? And how is that affecting people? How is that affecting their communication, their morale, the collaboration, their health conditions, et cetera? And then I gather a lot of details and information from their employees. And then what I do is I design these wellness experiences for their people to help them thrive. So it's really about supporting that physical, mental, emotional, and social well-being, which right now in today's day is more important than it's really ever been. So it's kind of a combination of different things. Every program we do sort of looks different, but it's really based on fitness. Like we have a virtual gym. Since people can't go to the gym, we're bringing the gym to them with all kinds of fun classes from Zumba and boot camp and yoga to like West African dance and flamenco. And then we have a lot of stress reduction experiences and personal development as well. So it's everything from like your meditation and mindfulness to fun things like music therapy and sound bath healing and laughter therapy. We started doing EFT tapping. It's really about helping people learn how to heal from their own pain and trauma and shift their mindset so that they can, feel good and perform to their best ability.
Right. And that really is when we're talking about work-life balance, that's what it is finding ways to balance out whatever's coming at you, whatever you're dealing with. And that's why I felt like the topic of embracing change felt right because it incorporates all these things, doesn't it? So
Yes.
I'd love to get into what it is that change is for us or what keeps us from embracing it or what throws us and how we react to it. What have you seen, Nicole?
Yeah, the thing about change that's so amazing is that there are two different kinds of change, and there's two different ways that we react to change. On the one hand, we have planned changes. Those are things that we are actively pursuing in our lives. We see something that we want to improve or we want to do something different. It's usually something that's positive and we get excited about it. Those planned changes are the easier type of change. And then on the other hand, we have the unplanned changes. The things that life just throws these curveballs at us that we weren't expecting, that we don't particularly want or like. And that is usually the area where we have a lot of resistance. And a lot of people kind of can get really stuck in that area because it generally brings up a lot of negative emotion because the changes are things that we weren't planning for and are not aligned with what it is that we want in our lives. So it's hard.
Yeah, we weren't prepared for it. And I feel
No.
like everyone's saying, yeah, that would be 2020.
Totally. For sure. This year has just been the wild card year, I mean, everyone came into 2020 like, this is going to be the best year ever. And then, all this madness has just happened. And it's not even just the health pandemic, it's everything. We've
Yes.
got the health pandemic that brings with it, issues of isolation, especially for people who are living alone.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've got, employees that are trying to juggle, how do I work from home while also homeschooling my kids that are supposed to be at school. And now I'm trying to do this with like less childcare or no childcare at all. So that's a lot of juggle. And then on top of that, we have all this social unrest happening in the country. There's a lot of, racial tensions that are being brought to light. This has been a crazy heated political climate that we've found ourselves in. And we've all been on this roller coaster ride of emotions. And it's just, continues. And it's crazy because so much of what's coming up for people is it's causing people to have issues in their own relationships, and there's a ton of stress happening right now. Even just opening your social media feed, looking at Facebook, it's like people arguing, everybody is fighting with each other. There's just a lot of intensity in this moment, and I think people are feeling that, and it's like everything is being shaken to its core at the moment, and all of the old comfortable familiar things that we're used to are all being shaken up. And that's part of why there's a lot of resistance to change. It's because when we're doing something, whether we like it or not, it's familiar. And there's a certain comfort in things being familiar, right? And it's
Yes.
like when that gets taken away, it's like the rug gets pulled out from under your feet. All of a sudden, it leaves you feeling really unsettled, very much like what is happening and why is this happening? And people are just really struggling to figure out what to do.
Yeah, I think 2020 has been like a almost a I don't want to say that is a level playing field, but so many of us all together at the same time have been feeling those
Yeah.
stressors or
Yeah.
having those stress responses together. And I think the real key in there when you're talking about familiarity and comfort is when you are dealing with uncertainty.
Yeah.
Right. And how
Yeah.
does that affect us in terms of stress response?
Oh, yeah. It's an amazing thing because when you are in like a limbo, no matter what you're talking about in your life, it could be about a personal issue, it could just be about this uncertainty of what's happening right now. It just leaves you very unhinged because you don't know what to expect. When you know what's coming, it allows you to prepare. And when you feel prepared, it helps you feel more secure. And so when you don't feel like you're prepared and we're in, that sense of security is being rocked, that's really what leaves people, feeling really triggered and having that stress response being very active right now, because we don't know, like, how long is this going to last? People have no idea what's coming around the corner. And there's just been so much change from all sides. I mean, like you said, it's like we're all in this together. I think somebody said it perfectly. They said, we're all in the same storm, but we're all in different boats.
Yes, exactly. So
Yeah.
again, our stress response is all the things that we do when we have, some kind of influence on us and then how we react, it will differ. Again,
Oh, yeah.
if you look back to the episode that I did on stress, here's the distinction. It's like one of us may take the exact same stressor and handle it in a different fashion. And it will depend upon your support system and where you are in the world and what is going on. But I think, yeah, it comes back to this security. And so the
Mhm.
uncertainty, the inability to prepare, it shakes us up so much. And I've even noticed it with myself, but also with my clients, friends, family, actually, I think just everyone in general, but especially the ones who like to be prepared, really like to be
Mhm.
prepared,
Yeah.
that then they will try to prepare for every possibility.
Like over prepare.
Yes, exactly. Like over prepare. And it reminds me a little bit of when you've got, your computer and it's trying to process and it's not coming through and you've got the little circle going and it just keeps
Hmm.
going and going. And you're like, oh, and it's exhausting. And either
Hmm.
way, I think what is happening is we're being drained.
Yes, 100%. Because when you are in the stress response, and it doesn't matter what's causing it, you might get stressed because you got too many emails. Someone might get stressed because they went on Facebook and someone made some horrible comment, or, whatever. It doesn't even matter what the cause of the stress is. The truth is that our bodies react to it the same way. We start secreting these stress hormones in the body. You've got the cortisol, the adrenaline being secreted, and it attacks literally every single function of our body. And depending on what the weakest point is for you, that's going to be how it manifests for you. For some people, it comes out as digestive issues. For other people, it's the migraines. For some people, it's insomnia, anxiety, depression, weight gain, autoimmune issues, high blood pressure, whatever. And the thing is, most people don't even realize that the stress that they're experiencing is really triggering these symptoms that they're having in their body. And the problem that we're having in general, and especially in today's climate, is that we're in chronic stress all the time. It's like, stress should just literally be, you got chased by a dog down the street. Like, that's how our bodies evolved. But unfortunately, stress is coming at us from every place right now. And when you find yourself constantly stressed, that's when it starts leading to a lot of these, unpleasant health issues that wind up popping up. And that's one of the biggest concerns that I have as, a wellness professional right now is, everybody is stretched thin. Everybody has just been doing their best to cope. And some people have healthier coping mechanisms than others, of course. But what's going to happen in the next 6 months as this continues to drag on, as people's stress responses stay active for so long? So one of the things that I really am trying to encourage people to do is to shift their mindset about what's happening right now. And instead of meeting this moment with a lot of resistance, which is bringing upon a lot of extra suffering and pain, if we can, instead of looking at this, slowdown of this, isolation that we're having at home, this quarantine time, instead of looking at it as a burden, why don't we look at this as an opportunity, as an opportunity to, really do some reflection on your own life and ask yourself, how do I want to emerge from this? What do I want to do differently? Am I happy in my life? How can I make myself better right now, for having gone through this? So I feel like, so many of us all over the world are feeling this intensity, like everything is being shaken to its core. I almost think of it like the old way of doing things is falling away so that we can usher in this new, better, more sustainable way of doing things. But right now we're caught in the middle of it. And that's like where the discomfort really comes up. Right? It's kind of like when you do a detox in your body, it's like all of the toxins that have been hiding like deep down inside, when they first like start being drawn out and it's in your bloodstream, you kind of feel like crap, but then like once you flush it out, you feel amazing. And so I kind of feel like, as an analogy, that we're sort of in that phase right now where everything's just being shaken up and we're feeling all the feels right now, but everything will start to fall away. And we have this amazing opportunity to look at these changes that are being thrown upon us as an opportunity to recreate ourselves.
Absolutely. I use this analogy with decluttering and organizing. When
Mhm.
you go to declutter, one of the things you have to do, if you're, as an example, when you're physically decluttering, you pull all the stuff out of the closet, all the
Right.
stuff, like you said, that was hidden back there that you're like, oh, I forgot I had that. And
Right.
you're pulling it all out. And when you're in that process, the place looks like a hot mess. It looks
Yes.
crazy, and it can make you feel really uncomfortable
Hmm.
because you're not, at the point yet where things are going back where they belong or where they could
Right.
go now that will be even better. And it
Yes.
can be difficult when you're in that moment. I call it the murky middle. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
Where, you're like, okay, I have to have faith that there's going to be something good coming because right
Yes.
now, this is not good.
Right, totally, totally. And I love that analogy. But then also, like, one of the biggest differences I think right now is that in that scenario, you're doing it on purpose, right?
Yes.
Like, you're wanting to clean, you're wanting to organize, you're wanting to create new space, new energy, reshift things for yourself. And then in this situation right now, I think because it's thrown upon them, it's that unplanned change, people feel very disempowered. And
Absolutely.
so when you feel disempowered, like you said, it's very draining. So how do we turn that around? That's the thing. Like, how do we start to shift that? How do we take people away from thinking that the change is going to lead them somewhere worse versus taking them somewhere better? Because it brings up a lot of fear. Like, that's the issue with unplanned changes. It brings up a lot of fears that we tend to have. And we have a tendency to run away from our fears because it's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good. So the moment we get triggered, we want to hightail it the other direction instead of facing it. But the truth is, everything you want is on the other side of fear. It's amazing. And it's just a matter of saying, okay, can I step up and rise to this? So there's two different definitions of fear. You can either forget everything and run, or you can face everything and rise, right? So you can look at this and say, okay, I am going to, that's what the definition of courage is, right? It's being afraid and doing something anyway,
Mhm.
right? So how can I just face whatever it is that I'm feeling and then move past this, break through it? Because the truth is that change brings breakthroughs, right? This is how we grow. This is how we learn, is through change. And nothing stays the same forever. Even if we wanted to, it doesn't. We're always changing. And if you can kind of, instead of looking at this as all of this stuff is happening to me, but instead shift your mindset to take on more empowering thoughts like, okay, why is this coming up? What is the message I'm supposed to learn right now? And how can I use this time to make myself better? So those are the kinds of things that I start trying to ask myself, that I'm encouraging other people to ask themselves. Well, what do you want to come out of this? Even for people that have lost their jobs, especially for people who have lost their jobs. If you lost your job in this pandemic, which 30 million Americans have, right? This is the perfect time for you to reevaluate what it is that you're doing. What do I want to be doing with my career? What would bring me more joy? Because especially if you're out of work and you have to start over, you may as well focus on something that's going to be more aligned with what it is that you really want.
Yeah, so much of what you're talking about is, number one, acceptance. I think when
Mm-hmm.
change is thrust upon us, and
Yes.
that can suck. I'm just going to put that out there. But then,
Totally.
right, you take a deep breath and you say, "All right, so I'm in it." And for some reason, I was trying to think about the metaphor with organizing a closet, and I'm thinking somebody went to pack, for a trip, and they pulled everything out of the closet. So
Yes.
they just forced you to declutter and work on putting the closet back together. So now you're like, okay, well, since everything's out of it already, I might as well figure out, does it
Yes.
all need to go back in there? Can I change around how it's going to look? Yeah, you're talking about accepting the fact that, all right, so we're in it. And
Mm-hmm.
then the other thing you're describing that is so important, and if you listen to this podcast regularly, you hear it mentioned almost every episode: curiosity. Being
Mm-hmm.
curious, asking these
Yes.
questions. Nicole is saying, okay, so what can I do with this? Where do I want to go now that I'm in this
Mm-hmm.
position? These questions of curiosity keep the judgment out of it
Mm-hmm.
and allow you to explore a bit and really
Yeah.
embrace the idea that there's an opportunity as opposed to
Yes.
something that you have to fight.
Totally. And you know what? When you ask yourself questions, you get the most profound answers because everything is already within us. We already know exactly what we should do or what feels aligned or what doesn't feel aligned. It's just a matter of quieting down all the busyness and distraction of the mind to really just drop in and get those answers. Like, I'll give you an example. When the pandemic first hit, my business literally came to a stop. No joke. So my model used to be that all of my employees would go on site to our clients' offices to teach all these classes on site, right? That's what we did. And we had, a breakthrough year last year. We were growing leaps and bounds. Like this year started off so amazing. And then literally within a 24-hour period, as soon as employees went to go work from home, every client I have called me into a 24-hour period and canceled everything, everything. And I sat there going, what is happening? Like, why is this happening right now? What? It was like, oh my gosh, all this hard work, like everything that I've been doing. And now this is just coming to a stop. And so I had two choices in that moment. I could either just panic and go down the rabbit hole of despair and become a victim and woe is me and just allow my entire business to fall apart. Or I instead sat with it and I just meditated on it. And I asked myself the question, what am I meant to receive right now? What is the message that I am meant to receive? What is the message that I'm meant to receive? And I closed my eyes and I just breathed and I just kept putting that question out. What is the message I'm meant to receive? What's the message I'm meant to receive? And I just kept repeating it over and over and over with a real yearning for the answer. And then you just let the question go. You literally just release it from your mind, put it out in the universe like a little seed that you just floating away in the wind. And then you move on with your day. Now, the thing is, you can do that practice with any burning question you have about anything in your life. No matter what the question is that you want to know, if you sit with it every day and put it out there and just ask the question to yourself and release it. I'm not kidding. Like in a matter of weeks, all of the answers are going to flow to you. Now, for me, it came in the first day. So like literally as soon as I did this practice, the very next morning, a client called me and she's like, oh, these chair yoga videos that we did last year, maybe we could do more of those. And I'm like, boom, instantly the inspiration came to me like, go online, just go online. So I was very quick to shift my entire business online. We shifted the whole company online in 30 days. I mean, it was crazy. And then I had a client that wanted a place to host all of the online content. So I came up with a beautiful, by the way, members only portal that to host all of these, classes and to do everything and all the recordings. And I mean, just so much is in there in like 2 weeks, right? And I did all of this because I didn't resist the change. Instead of panicking about it, instead of resisting it, instead of just like freaking out, I just said, you know what, like whatever is coming up for a reason. And I am meant to do something different right now. And what's been incredible that's come out of this is that all of a sudden, now that my whole business is virtual, my market has opened up. All of a sudden, now I can reach out to companies anywhere. It doesn't matter where they are. And I'm bringing on new clients in other parts of the country that I've never prospected new business before. And then on top of that, I'm expanding like my network of my teachers, and I can work with anyone anywhere. Like I had one client that asked for Afro yoga. And I thought, what is that? Is that even a thing? And I've been teaching yoga for 13 years. And I'm like, I don't know what she's talking about. But then I connected with this amazing yoga instructor who lives in Uganda. And I was able to hire him in Uganda to teach a class for one of my clients in California. I mean, it's just amazing. So it's like, and my business is growing. Like in the end, it's turned into a blessing. And I think it was really because I didn't resist the change that was happening. I've been very clear about exactly what I want, what I'm creating, where I want to be. And so I was like, I that's clear. My vision has never been more clear. So whatever is being thrown my way is a roadblock. And it just means that even though I thought I was going to take this path to get to that place, it just means that I need to carve a new path and I can still get to the same place or even somewhere better, but it's just a matter of like, okay, I'm meant to go in a different direction. And then hindsight is always 2020, right? Because then you can kind of look at something and go, oh yeah, see, that's exactly why. And it wound up working out. But I think one of the key pieces of the puzzle is to just do things that feel good. Okay. I always tell people when you are not sure what to do, ask yourself the question, okay, if I do, so put yourself, if I do this or if I do that. So if I'm going to do this, say, okay, I'm doing this, and just see how that feels in your body. Close your eyes and see how it feels. If it feels like you have this knot in your stomach, like it just doesn't feel right, that the answer is a big no. That's your intuition talking to you, and that's not the right path. But if you think like, should I do this? And when you think about it, if it feels exciting, if it's like gets you, with like a rise and you feel that like butterfly excitement, then that is 100% what you are meant to do. And just commit yourself to taking action on it. Even if you don't see how the path is going to unfold, it's just having that faith that if you do the things that feel aligned, that feel right in your heart, it's going to take you where you're meant to be.
I love that. And so much of what you're describing, what came up for me as you're describing it is this idea that you're taking a situation where you have this unplanned change, you have this uncertainty, you have the potential for stress response, and then you see the opportunity and you embrace what you can do. You embrace
Yes.
the choices you do have within that. There
Yes.
is still choice. There is still opportunity. And you're bringing in authenticity into that mix, which again is a whole nother fabulous conversation. And shout out to Mallory Schleybaugh. We had an amazing conversation about that. And, that's the thing when you get true to who you are and realize that you do have choices within, in a
Mm-hmm.
way, I don't want to, many times we say control is an illusion, but it's choice. And we do
Yes,
get to take that back even within all this uncertainty. And that's
definitely.
very hopeful.
And choice is power.
Yeah.
Choice is power. Choice, when you feel like you're making a choice with something, that's very empowering because instead of feeling like everything's happening to you, now you have a sense of control about it. Because the truth is, we can't control what's happening around us. We can't. All we can control is how we're going to react to it. And that is our choice. It's equally a choice for me to panic and just withdraw as it is for me to decide to explore that, to have that curiosity and figure out, okay, well, what can I do? And that's always a question that is so powerful to ask yourself in the face of anything. What can I do? Because that gives you that power back. You can
Absolutely.
always find something that you can do, and that allows you to just start breaking through it and start moving forward.
Right. So the first power play is the choice of how you're going to respond. And sometimes it does involve chocolate and curling up and watching Hallmark movies. Sometimes it does.
Totally.
Ask me how I know.
Yes.
And then you have a subsequent choice after that and after
Yes.
that. But yes, taking back those choices. What can I do? Well, I love that because that's pretty much what I coach. That's what I live for. It's like there's always that possibility, that little ember that you can stoke and create a flame from. And another thing that ties into this so beautifully that you've expressed in what you've shared is gratitude.
Oh, yes. Gratitude is everything, honestly. There's so many different emotions that we experience throughout our day, and emotions all have different energetic vibrations to them, and it's quite on a scale. And the lowest vibration emotion that there is fear, right? It's fear, it's grief, it's depression, it's victim mentality, etc. And it
Mhm.
goes all the way from there up to like anger and then frustration and disappointment and all of these different places, and then to boredom, and then you get to contentment, and then you get to, moving on, hopefulness, etc. And the highest one that there is love, gratitude, appreciation, joy, empowerment, right? And when we practice gratitude, deliberately saying thank you for things that, we appreciate in our lives, what it does is multiple things. The first thing it does is it raises our energetic vibration because it pulls us out of that low energy emotions, that are depleting, that make us feel bad and tired and, out of control. And gratitude starts to help us move up that scale of emotions that help us physically, emotionally feel better, gives you energy back. And then it shifts your mindset. And it's an instant mindset hack to shift from that fixed mindset where you feel stuck into that growth mindset where you're now more open to receive. And that's where you get that inspiration and creativity and motivation, starting to flow through you again.
Beautifully said. And I think that is the best place we could possibly wrap up is with love and appreciation and being open to what we can receive. So let's continue with a little bit of fun and inspiration. If you are ready, I would love for you to fill in the blanks for me. The song that always makes me dance is.
Mm. The song that always makes me dance is Billie Jean from Michael Jackson.
Oh, yeah. Well, he was such an amazing dancer.
Oh, yeah, definitely. As soon as that comes on, I'm like, oh, gotta dance, gotta dance.
That's awesome. That will be going on the Positively Living podcast playlist. And we are now into volume 2 at this point because we have
Oh,
a lot of
fun.
great dance songs. Okay, how about the quote or the mantra I share all the time is.
Yeah. So, one of the most powerful things that someone ever shared with me when I was young, and I was so grateful to learn this when I was in high school, he said, if you keep doing what you've always done, you're only going to get what you've already got. And that hit me when I was in high school. He told me this, and it was like, wow, if I want something else, if I want something more, I have to do something different to get it. And I think that was probably one of the most powerful moments of my life about embracing change, because that really made me understand that change is a good thing. It's going to take me to new heights. It's going to lead me to new places and allow me to create something even better. So I have been embracing change my whole life. Honestly, I always joked with people that I'm a creature of change. You know, I always love things shifting. I don't like it being the same for too long. It just keeps life spicy and interesting.
Right, the variety. I love that. That is the perfect saying for what we're talking about today, embracing change. Now, how about a resource, book, or app that makes my life easier is?
Yeah, I am in love right now with Gabrielle Bernstein. And so she is just a super inspiring woman. And she's got a couple of new books, but the one that just spoke to me recently is called Super Attractor. Super Attractor. And it's an incredible book and it just gives you so much power back and just reconnects you to yourself and to, guidance, and allows you to receive new guidance. And it's just very uplifting. So anything from Gabrielle Bernstein is, what I'm
Okay.
preaching to the choir right now.
All right, that sounds good. I'll find the link and be sure to include that in the show notes. All right, and last but definitely not least, and bringing it back to gratitude, what or whom are you grateful for today, Nicole?
Oh my goodness. I have immense gratitude in my heart so much. I mean, the people I'm most grateful for, of course, are my family, my husband, my son, and my daughter. I actually, especially my husband and my son, they had a near incident like a week ago where my husband took my son over to play at the park to fly a kite. And they parked next to a tree. And I'm not joking, this 80-foot tall giant tree fell down right beside their car while they were in it. I mean, literally within like a foot. Like it's crazy, crazy, crazy. And the wildest part about that was an hour before this happened, I saw that it was windy and I just went and I just made a prayer and I prayed to my angels to protect our trees and our property because we've got a bunch of big trees, to protect our trees and our property and our family. And it was the craziest thing that happened literally an hour before this. And I was like a little shaken by it at first. But then that night, I pulled a card from actually Gabby Bernstein's new card deck. She's got a amazing card deck called Spirit Junkie, if you guys like cards, because I love these cards. And the card said, all that I love is more important than all that I fear.
Hmm.
And it just resonated with me and it made me feel like I am protected and my family is protected and I don't have to have any fear of losing them ever, because we are just so protected. And it was like such a beautiful thing to like completely shift that energy that I was feeling about it. And so, like, obviously, feeling immense gratitude right now just for the little things that you take for granted every single day, and especially for the most important people in our lives. So I feel like one of the luckiest people in the world, honestly.
I'm right there with you. And very specifically today, I am so grateful for you that you
Hmm.
came to join us and shared your wisdom and your heart. And I am sure that many of the listeners want to connect with you. So, where can we find you online?
Oh, yeah. So you can find our website certainly has a lot of great information. You can go to balancebynature.com. And then we've got a Facebook page for Balance by Nature, but I'm most active on LinkedIn. So anybody is welcome to reach out to me, send me a request on LinkedIn to connect. I share tons and tons of tools on there all the time. And it's Nicole Mixdorf. So you can find me on there too.
Okay, I'll be sure to have all those links in the show notes. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you for shining your light in this world and for
Hmm.
sharing it with us.
Thank you so much for having me. This was just delightful.
The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. Dan Millman. Thank you for joining me on the Positively Living podcast. Your time is precious, and I'm honored you chose to spend it with me. Would you like to further explore the topics you've heard and implement what inspires you? Could you use some coaching support? What if you could attend a private Q&A with my guests and access bonus content? You can do all that and more in the Positively Living membership community. Check the link in the show notes or head to positivelyproductive.com/membership to enroll. I look forward to having you join me next episode and in the community. Until then, keep it positive and keep making space for what matters most.